What if the life you've been trying to attract isn't missing? It's already here, inches away, vibrating in a layer of reality you can't yet feel because your signal is out of tune. What if nothing out there needs to change first, and the only lever that moves the world you touch is the frequency you become? You can visualize 1,000 times, craft the perfect vision board, speak affirmations in the mirror until your throat goes dry, and still open your eyes to the same room, the same bank balance, the same repeating patterns. Not because you failed, not because you weren't worthy, but because you were trying to paint a new picture on the same old canvas. The image changed. The canvas didn't. Reality responds to the canvas. The canvas is frequency. The world you call solid is a choreography of invisible motion. The atoms in your desk are mostly space. The solidity you feel is a dance of forces, fields, and vibration. You are not a fixed object moving through a dead universe. You are a living field immersed in a larger field, continuously exchanging information, thought to thought, breath to breath, heartbeat to heartbeat. Ancient traditions said it as poetry. All is sound. Modern science maps it as math. Everything is oscillation, interference, resonance. Two languages, one insight. When you finally let this drop from concept into your bones, a quiet shift happens. Life stops feeling like a wall to push and starts behaving like an instrument to tune. Imagine you are a violin resting in a room full of other instruments. Tighten or loosen one string, and the air changes. Nearby strings begin to hum in sympathy. This is resonance. You never shouted at the room. You tuned yourself and everything else responded. This is how reality moves around you. You can wish, plead, script, pray, hustle. But if the signal you broadcast remains anchored in fear, scarcity, guilt, or self-doubt, the field mirrors back matching patterns with breathtaking consistency. Not as punishment, as physics. The universe isn't judging you. It's harmonizing with you. There is a difference between wanting and broadcasting. Wanting is mental. Broadcasting is embodied. Wanting says, one day. Broadcasting says, this is what I am now. Wanting lives in language. Broadcasting lives in your breath, in your micro-choices, in your sense of safety when no one's watching. You can say abundance while your nervous system whispers danger. And the field will always trust the whisper. That's why you felt the ache of almost, the glimpse of possibility that quickly recedes. You turned up the volume on your thoughts, but your baseline signal stayed where it was. The blueprint didn't actually change. Physicists noticed something strange in the smallest theaters of reality. Outcomes aren't fixed until observed. The act of focused interaction changes which possibility becomes actual. Translate the metaphor carefully. In your life, what you repeatedly observe within, what you rehearse emotionally, what you expect, what you decide is how it is for me, sets grooves for reality to flow into. This isn't about micromanaging every thought. It's about learning the art of steady attention, choosing a true, elevated state and staying there long enough for the world to recognize you. A moment of intensity doesn't beat a month of coherence. The river carves the canyon not by force, but by constancy. Where does your true signal live? Look at who you are when you aren't performing for outcomes. How do you breathe when you first wake? How do you speak about yourself when there's no audience? What emotion do you return to after a small disappointment, after a small win? What do you assume people think of you as you enter a room? How quickly do you forgive yourself? These are the coordinates of your frequency. They reveal the design you are sending into the field. Change them and you don't just think differently, you become a new broadcast tower. Identity is not a paragraph in your journal. Identity is the way your body prepares you for life. If your identity is the one who survives, you will unconsciously choose paths that confirm survival is necessary. If your identity is the one who is chosen, Doors seem to swing a little easier. People mirror your certainty back to you. You've already felt this in small ways. On a day you felt undeniably solid, centered without trying, emails got answered, the barista smiled wider, and a solution that hid for weeks appeared in 5 minutes. Nothing mystical had to happen. You slipped into a frequency that reduced static, and the field could finally find you. A simple law runs beneath your habits. Internal coherence attracts external order. Clarity without coherence creates friction. You know what you want, but your energy contradicts it. Action without coherence creates burnout. You move a lot, but don't move on. Faith without coherence creates waiting. You believe, but you keep postponing arrival into later. Coherence isn't perfection. It's alignment. Thoughts, emotions, and behaviors sending the same message long enough for reality to stabilize around it. Effort is useful for building skills, launching projects, taking the next step. But at the level of frequency, trying often signals separation. The more you strain, the more you announce to your own system, I don't have it yet. The field reads that signal and organizes accordingly. The game changes from, how can I force this? To, who would I be if this were already done? And what would feel natural for that person today? Every time you decide to live from a higher state, an old pattern will knock, not to stop you, but to be seen and repatterned. The field isn't pushing back. It's asking, is this your new broadcast or a momentary wish? Most people call this a test and tense up. The ones who transform call it a calibration and soften. They breathe slower. They choose the new response for 5 more minutes. The universe listens to those 5 minutes more closely than to 5 pages of affirmations. This journey is practical spirituality. Not theories to admire, but levers you can pull. Regulation before revelation. You learn to steady your state so your nervous system stops arguing with your intentions. You build emotional set points that carry your signal when you're tired or triggered. You design micro-rituals that anchor identity in motion, not just in thought. You learn to read synchronicities as feedback loops, not fantasies. You translate vision into embodied behavior without faking or forcing. Ideas become instruments. You play them until the sound is clean. If reality moves to the music of your frequency, it helps to know the instrument. Your signal isn't a single note. It's a choir. Thought provides the pattern, emotion supplies the power, and the body conducts the orchestra. When these synchronize, the room changes around you. When they argue, the room echoes static. Thoughts are pattern makers, carving grooves of expectation that the rest of your system follows. A repeated thought becomes a belief. Belief becomes a perceptual bias. Bias becomes what you notice, select, and reinforce. The sentence, I'm the kind of person who, functions like a compass. It quietly programs what you reach for and what you never attempt. If you believe life is fundamentally supportive, you will keep finding support. If you believe you must fight for every scrap, the world returns sparring partners. Even the words you choose shape tempo. The absolutes that flood a sentence, always, never, should, later, can speed up anxiety or freeze possibility. Softer and more precise phrasing, for now, experiment, next, can loosen stuckness. But the mind alone cannot broadcast far. Thought without feeling is a whisper. Emotion is the charge that gives your pattern power. It's not an enemy to suppress. It's your signal booster. 2 people can hold the same thought, I am worthy of love. But the one who feels warmth in their chest when they say it will broadcast farther than the one who feels only tension. Elevated emotions like gratitude, appreciation, contentment, and awe expand your field and tell your system, we are safe. It is allowed to arrive. Contracting emotions like shame, resentment, envy, and chronic worry narrow your field and say, we are in danger. Reduce options. Choose familiar paths. You don't need to fear or banish difficult emotions. You need to metabolize them. Unfelt emotion keeps your frequency stuck in yesterday. Felt emotion moves, and when it moves, it frees power for your chosen broadcast. Your body is the antenna that sends your signal beyond arm's reach. Breath rate, posture, gaze, muscle tone, even the way you take a step, these are language. The field listens to them before it listens to your slogans. Rapid, shallow breathing says threat. Slow, steady exhalations say coherence. A collapsed chest whispers, hide me. An open sternum and long spine whisper, I am available. Narrow, darting eyes cue vigilance. Soft, panoramic vision widens possibility. The body doesn't wait for the journal to decide your state. It declares it in motion. These three: mind, emotion, body form a loop. Thought triggers feeling. Feeling shapes behavior. Behavior confirms the thought. Most people run this loop unconsciously. You're learning to take the conductor's baton. Coherence happens when thinking, feeling, and acting send the same message long enough for reality to stabilize around it. I am chosen isn't just an idea. It feels like grounded warmth, not a spike of hype. It behaves like clear boundaries, measured yes, confident no's, clean follow-through. I am abundant isn't an incantation. It breathes slowly and chooses patiently, without constant checking, hoarding, or impulsive spending. The field doesn't punish incoherence. It mirrors it. Clean the message and your reflection clears. Every system has a set point, a home base it returns to after spikes and dips. If your set point is mildly rushed and slightly behind, you can have a great day and still find a way to recreate just enough rush by midnight. If your set point is unhurried clarity, you can experience a surprise and still return to steadiness without drama. You didn't deserve the set point you inherited. You learned it, which means you can reset it. The reset starts gently. In the morning, you sit the way someone sits who trusts the ground. You stretch your exhale until your shoulders remember where they belong. You let one true sentence land, not a grand declaration, just a believable bridge. I am learning to move like someone for whom this already works. You don't force goosebumps with it. You let your body soften by 2%. The chest loosens a little. The jaw unhooks. The pace inside your head drops from sprint to steady walk. This is how a broadcast changes, quietly, then obviously. The day makes its first requests. A message arrives that would normally send you down the old path, the one paved with explaining and pleasing. You feel the tug to hurry, to prove, to adjust yourself into something that will be less likely to be rejected. You breathe the way you practiced. You answer with one clear sentence instead of 3 convincing paragraphs. You do not posture. You do not apologize for existing. You speak at the speed of clarity. The outcome matters less than what your nervous system learns. This is the kind of person we are now. The field hears it because your breath, your voice, and your choice harmonized. You carry this into rooms. Doors you used to enter with a shrinking chest now meet you standing a little taller. You don't perform confidence. You remove the habits that collapse it. You walk 10% slower than your reflex. Feels unnatural for a week, then like relief. The slowness isn't laziness. It's a signal to your body that safety lives here. From that safety, you make different decisions. You choose what you say yes to as if your time were already valuable. You decline what once seduced you into overgiving because you'd rather be trustworthy to your future than available to every impulse from your past. Language becomes another instrument you tune. The fog of maybe, someday, I hope this works, dampened your sound. You begin to speak in lines that feel clean in your mouth. I intend. I'm not available for that. Here's what I can do. These aren't slogans. They are agreements with yourself that accidentally inform everyone else. People start to answer you differently, not because you learned a trick, but because the echo you send out no longer wobbles. Money notices too, not because numbers have consciousness, but because you stop handling them like flames and start handling them like partners. You look without bracing. You decide on one small act each week that future you would thank you for and present you can sustain. A bill paid a day earlier than necessary. A subscription quietly canceled. A strategic investment in a skill that makes tomorrow smoother. The emotion that used to govern these choices, grip, avoid, lunge, gives way to a steadier feeling, the kind that says there is enough air in this room. Opportunities breathe easier around you. Relationships retune as you do. Where you once tried to earn your space by solving everything in sight, you now occupy your space differently. You listen like someone whose worth isn't up for auction. You ask for what you want in sentences that end with periods. You receive praise without deflecting it and feedback without collapsing under it. Even when the old reflex knocks, over-explain here, forgive too quickly there, you notice faster, recenter sooner, and choose like your future instead of like your past. The timeline shifts not because others changed overnight, but because the choreography you practice invites different steps. As the weeks pass, you stop treating every practice as a test. Sitting in the morning, reminding your body how someone who trusts their life breathes. Speaking like choices are yours to make. Asking simply and delivering cleanly. None of it feels performative anymore. It's hygiene. You brush your frequency the way you brush your teeth. When you miss a day, you don't spiral into superstition. You return. Returning becomes the superpower. The baseline rises. Resonance is how the room responds. It determines why certain opportunities find you on repeat, why particular challenges keep showing up with suspicious reliability, and why sometimes, when you change your inner state by a few degrees, the world rearranges itself in ways that feel personal. Outcomes stack into patterns that seem like fate. We call them my luck or my life. They're resonance. In systems theory, an attractor is a set of states toward which a system tends to evolve. In your life, attractors are identity-level expectations. I'm always the one who has to fix things. People never see my value. I do great work, but I get overlooked at the last moment. These statements don't just describe your past. They broadcast your next. Without intervention, they recruit circumstances to confirm themselves. You've felt it. The same dynamic with different people. The same money ceiling in different roles. The same burst of hope followed by the same stall. When a pattern repeats, don't blame the characters or the stage. Ask, what attractor am I feeding? Name it gently, then starve it of fuel. You don't leap from scarcity to overflow in a single bound. Your system climbs a ladder of resonance, subtle, believable upgrades your body can support. At first, insufficiency says, there isn't enough, and your behaviors hoard energy, over-explain, and grab for short-term relief. Then sufficiency arrives. There is enough for today, and your choices become measured, your nose cleaner, your commitments one at a time. Abundance follows. There is more arriving than I need. And you find generosity with structure, long view decisions, patient momentum. Eventually overflow. I am a source, where you create without grasping, hold standards without apology, and give in ways that refill you. Each rung carries different language, posture, and rhythms. If overflow sounds like fiction today, anchor sufficiency. When sufficiency becomes natural, abundance will feel local, not mythical. Frequency moves best at the edge of believable. Clarity makes you legible. People call it being noticed, as if attention is a lottery. Under the surface, it's legibility. When your signal is coherent, others can read you, what you value, how you move, where you stand, what you'll deliver. Opportunities are drawn to clarity because clarity reduces risk. Saying yes with a resentful body, promising standards you won't enforce, presenting confidence with a nervous pace. These create a wobble others sense, even if no one names it. When your yes costs exactly what it sounds like, when your boundaries are simple sentences, when your delivery and your silence match, people trust you. So does the field. You stop chasing. You start magnetizing. Chasing asks, how do I get them to pick me? Magnetizing decides, how do I become the person this result finds naturally? It isn't passivity. It's alignment. You still act. You stop hammering on locked doors and start standing where doors tend to open. How you do one thing is how you do many things. The way you reply to a text mirrors how you negotiate a contract. The way you leave your desk at day's end mirrors how you exit relationships. The way you treat a tiny expense mirrors how you treat a large one. Clean a pattern in the small, and you make space for different outcomes in the large. Opportunities are people, and people feel. Before a promotion, a collaboration, or a sale, there's a nervous system across from yours wondering, will my life get simpler or messier if I say yes to this person? Your frequency answers before your words do. A steady presence whispers, simpler. A rushed pitch shouts, messier. Be a simplifier. The field loves simplifiers. As you stabilize a frequency, the world sends echoes. The right person messages after months of silence. A book you needed appears in a random stack. Numbers repeat. These aren't prizes. They're pings from the field. Signal received. Stay here. Most people celebrate, then unconsciously relax their new state. Don't. The moment you get feedback is the moment to breathe deeper and anchor more. Treat money like a relationship. If you grip it, it hides. If you ignore it, it wanders. If you respect it, it sits closer. Look weekly without dread. Make proactive moves. Invest in skills and systems that save energy. Give from a planned place, not from panic. You're not impressing money. You're becoming a person whose life money can flow through without chaos. Boundaries clarify your station. When you say no to a misaligned request, you strengthen the yes that fits you. If you've been vibrating at, I'll take what I can get, the field will keep sending crumbs. Shift to I choose clean agreements, and watch who stays to match it. In audio, clarity isn't only about louder volume, it's about less noise. You become magnetic not by adding drama to your signal, but by removing static, ending ambiguous commitments, minimizing contradictory identities, cleaning your promises, deleting performative effort. The quieter the noise, the farther your signal carries. Timing is a frequency too. Chasing bad timing is expensive. Coherence improves timing because you stop acting from scarcity. You discern when to pause because not yet isn't the same as never. You recognize now because your body stops asking for more proof. The difference between confidence and certainty becomes clear. Confidence often waits for evidence. Certainty acts like evidence is on the way. Confidence asks for approval. Certainty offers clarity. Quiet certainty doesn't posture. It doesn't apologize for existing. The field organizes faster around it because it can finally predict you. Wonder doesn't require you to abandon honesty. You can keep the poetry and the proof. You can use metaphor as a bridge, not as a blindfold. Physics tells us matter is patterns in fields, that waves of possibility collapse when measured, that quantum weirdness decoheres into the stable world we touch. In laboratories, observer means interaction, not necessarily consciousness. It's a useful metaphor for attention in your life, but it isn't mind over atoms. What's measurable and repeatable at human scale lives in biology, psychology, and sociology. Neuroplasticity reorganizes neural pathways when you rehearse new behaviors. Longer exhales shift your autonomic state toward presence. Smoother heart rhythms correlate with better decisions and regulation. Expectation effects change perception and performance. Your reticular activating system filters the world to match your priorities. Calm, clear posture and language increase trust and response rates. None of this violates physics. It's coherence in motion. Treat speculative claims as philosophy that helps you behave better, not as facts you need to defend. You don't need the universe to pick you. The field is procedural, not personal. It mirrors your baseline. That's liberating. It means you can stop performing worthiness and start practicing coherence. Worthiness is a conclusion. Coherence is a habit. The reason act as if works isn't that atoms bow to your wishes. It's that identity is the master variable in human systems. Identity sets expectations. Expectations steer attention. Attention selects inputs and actions. Actions generate evidence. Evidence reinforces identity. You don't need to believe forever. You need to behave long enough that evidence takes over the job. Two teams can live in the same market and experience different physics. One hustles from urgency, promises fast and cheap, answers emails at midnight with scattered energy, and wins clients who mirror their chaos. Projects drift. Margins evaporate. They call it a hard market. The other moves from coherence, replies within set hours, asks clarifying questions up front, prices for depth, loses a chaotic client, wins a calm one. Projects land smoothly. Referrals compound. Same economy, different physics. Presence changes rooms. Even if you never read a paper, your body knows when the practice is working. Your breath self-corrects after surprises. Your shoulders lower in conversations that used to spike your heart. You send the email without an adrenaline drip. You sleep cleaner. You stop narrating worst-case scenarios to look prepared. That's data. In time, you'll notice growth creeps quietly, steadily. Weeks in, you catch your old attractors sooner. A month in, people comment on your presence. 2 months in, you trust your pacing. Opportunities fit better. A few months more, reputation compounds. You experience, of course, more than finally. Resist the demand for fireworks while you're rewiring the fuse box. Change doesn't begin with a lightning strike. It begins with softer sounds. The moment you decide to stop bargaining with your old rhythm and start rehearsing a new one, even when no one is watching, you'll move through your day with this in mind. In the morning, you breathe like someone who trusts their life. Midday, you choose state before strategy. In the afternoon, you speak like choices are yours to make. In the evening, you review like a scientist with a heart. You replay one scene from the vantage point of the person you're training into being. Your body stores the lesson. Tomorrow's choices become lighter by a few ounces because tonight you made room for them. Week by week, your environment reflects back the interior signals you've been stabilizing. The surface that used to collect the debris of indecision clears because a clearer mind puts down what it picks up. People who expected you to answer within minutes learn that you answer within hours, and the ones who can't adapt drift away without a fight. You aim at fewer targets and hit more of them. The calendar gains a border where your evenings live and a spine where your priorities sit. This isn't productivity cosplay. It's coherence made visible. Every new station you tune to wakes an old echo. The moment your life starts to sound clearer, the parts of you that survived by static will ask whether you plan to leave them behind. They arrive as protectors, voices that once kept you safe by keeping you small, habits that shielded you by narrowing your world. You meet them in mundane places. You're halfway through a week of clean asks and measured pace when a familiar dread sneaks in. A message doesn't get answered on your preferred timeline and your chest tries to turn the delay into a verdict. Before you know it, you're composing explanations to prove you're still worthy of yes. You catch the momentum and feel the old current pulling at your ankles. This is the moment that matters, not the initial tug, but the second breath, the one that tells the water you've learned to swim differently. You'll hear the names of the shadow threads. Hurry or they'll forget you. Don't ask for what you want. Offer more until they're too grateful to leave. Keep it small so no one resents you. These lines weren't random. They were stitched into you in rooms where they worked. You survived something with them. The work now isn't to rip them out with force, but to thank them for their service and retire them with grace. When the message arrives late, you speak to your chest like a friend. Of course you tightened here. We used to pay for belonging with proof. We don't do that anymore. Then you act as if that were true, not with grand gestures, but with the next small choice. A calm follow-up, a pause that preserves dignity, a return to what you were doing because your value doesn't hang on one reply. Sometimes the shadow wears more expensive clothes. It calls itself standards while it sets traps. You demand perfection from new habits, and when they wobble, you declare the whole experiment a fraud. Or you postpone beginning until conditions are flawless, which conveniently keeps you at the starting line forever. The mind will dress avoidance as excellence when fear of change is in charge. Excellence doesn't need to delay. It needs to begin and iterate. The day you allow imperfect coherence is the day coherence becomes possible. Ghosts from older rooms will visit. An invitation arrives from someone who profited from your lack of boundaries. The old roll calls nostalgically. Your body responds like a veteran who hears a song from a war. You can feel the armor trying to wrap around you. In those moments, kindness dissolves the metal. You don't shame yourself for how well you learned to protect your heart. You remind your heart that a different safety exists now. You decline with respect. You accept only what matches the life you've been practicing. It hurts a little, then it heals deeper. Envy appears when others seem to receive easily what you're rehearsing painstakingly. Don't run from it. Envy, approached honestly, is a compass pointing toward a capacity you're ready to cultivate. You don't vilify the person or belittle the desire. You translate the ache into information. What exactly do you admire? Visibility without panic? Money without chaos? Intimacy without collapse? Now you have a map. Practice the smallest version of that quality today, not in their shape, but in yours. Anger will have its turn. If you've spent years folding yourself into agreeable shapes, your system may store anger as dangerous. When you stop contorting, the stored charge sometimes surfaces as storms. Give it a channel that builds rather than burns. Move your body. Let your voice say no without justifying the syllable. Put the feeling to work as an architect of cleaner agreements. Anger is boundary energy under pressure. Released responsibly, it becomes structure. Grief accompanies growth. Every old identity you retire was once a home, even if cramped. You'll miss the familiarity, the predictability, the way the old you knew where to put their hands. Grief isn't a relapse. It's a tribute. Letting it move through creates room for the new you to put down furniture. Refuse grief and you'll haunt both houses, unable to live fully in either. Sit with the emptiness that honest endings create. That emptiness is fertile. Shame will try to keep the shadow intact by convincing you any misstep invalidates your claim to a better life. It's persuasive because it uses your voice against you. The antidote is simple and brave. Tell the truth faster. This is where I broke my word. This is where I hid. This is where I tried to buy love. The moment you name it without flinching, you rob it of its power to govern your future. Your frequency doesn't need you to be spotless. It needs you to be integrous. Integrity isn't never slipping. It's returning to alignment without theatrics. You'll also learn where not to spend attention. Not every battle deserves the currency of your gaze. Some arguments are vending machines that only dispense more argument. Some invitations glitter with urgency but purchase only regret. Become a quiet economist, investing attention where it multiplies peace and withdrawing it from markets that trade in chaos. This isn't avoidance, it's stewardship. Your life ceases to be a stage for proving what you can endure and becomes a studio for composing what you can offer. In the smallest places, the practice returns. The glass you set down rather than drop. The jacket you hang up because order is kindness to your future self. The neighbor you greet without glancing at your phone. The way you close a door without slamming it, even when you're late. None of this is moral grandstanding. It's physics at human scale. Every small coherence is a vote for a world that answers you in kind. 1,000 such votes in a month produce the kind of momentum most people attribute to luck. And at night, before you move from waking into the dark, you replay a single scene from the day when you chose your frequency in the gap. You feel the body sense of that choice as if tasting it again. You let your chest learn the flavor. This is how memory becomes muscle, how tomorrow's attention wakes already attuned to the station you are becoming. You don't promise yourself impossible feats. You promise to notice. You promise to choose once more in the places that count. You fall asleep as the person you intend to meet in the morning, not by words alone, but by the way your awareness held you when it mattered. If this met you at the right time, you don't need to make a grand gesture. Begin where you are. The next conversation, the next choice, the next morning. Hold the frequency you've been practicing for 5 more minutes than you usually do. Then 5 more. Coherence compounds in increments. This isn't a race. It's a rehearsal that becomes a life. You tune your instrument, and the music follows.